Aquarius, stop scrolling. Right now, on August 4th, 2026, the universe is quietly rearranging things around you, and most people walking past you today have no idea that something has shifted. But you are about to feel it. Somewhere within the next 30 days, a door you have been pushing against for months is going to open on its own. And it begins with 5 signs that are already unfolding around you. Stay with me until the end, because missing even one of these signs could mean overlooking the opportunity that was destined for you. Before we begin, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and comment below, "I accept my destiny." Now, let's begin. Sign number 1. The North Node has crossed into your sign. Let's start with the one most Aquarians felt before they could even name it. In the final days of July, the North Node, astrology's compass point, for destiny, for growth, for the direction your soul is being pulled whether you like it or not, crossed the invisible line into your own sign. And now, in the first week of August, that energy isn't just arriving, it's settling in. It's unpacking its bags in your chart and telling you it plans to stay for the next 18 months. Here's why this matters, more than almost anything else happening in the sky right now. The North Node isn't a planet, it's a mathematical point, a kind of karmic arrow, and wherever it lands becomes the zone of life where the universe stops letting you coast. For a year and a half, it's going to sit directly on top of your identity, your appearance, your sense of self, your first house, the part of your chart that says quite simply, "This is who I am." And when the node parks itself there, the message is unmistakable. It's time to stop shaping yourself around what other people need and start becoming the version of you that you've been circling for years. If you've felt restless lately, a low hum of something needs to change, but I don't know what, that's not random. That's this. Aquarians are already wired for reinvention. You're the sign of the innovator, the one who gets bored of old models the moment everyone else finally catches up to them. But this node placement takes that natural instinct and turns up the volume until it's impossible to ignore. You may notice yourself second-guessing habits you've had for years. You may catch yourself in the mirror and feel like you're looking at someone slightly unfamiliar, in a good way. You may find old friendships or old jobs suddenly feeling like clothes you've outgrown, even if nothing dramatic has actually happened to change them. The opposite point, the South Node, your comfort zone, your well-worn groove, sits in Leo, the sign of loyalty, performance, and being seen through relationships and reputation. For the last year and a half, you've likely been leaning hard on that Leo energy, proving yourself through others, measuring your worth by how you're perceived, staying loyal to roles and people even when they no longer fit. The node shift doesn't erase that, it rebalances it. You're being asked to bring some of that Leo warmth and confidence inward, instead of constantly performing it outward. This is why August 4th specifically matters. We're now far enough into this node's arrival that the initial disorientation is starting to clear, and the actual direction is beginning to show itself. Think of the last week as the shock wave, and think of today as the moment the dust starts to settle enough that you can see the outline of what's coming. This is not a small transit that fades in a few days. This is the opening chapter of a year and a half where your own personal reinvention becomes the main storyline of your life, whether you consciously choose it or whether it simply happens to you. And here's the piece almost nobody talks about. Nodal shifts like this rarely feel like fireworks on day one. They feel like a slow-building certainty, a thought you keep having, a decision you keep almost making, a version of yourself you keep imagining late at night. If that's been happening to you this week, you are not imagining it, and you are not alone. You are standing at the very beginning of an identity chapter that the rest of this video is going to help you understand. Because sign 2 is about to show you exactly where that new identity gets tested first. Stay with me, because it happens fast. Sign number 2, a solar eclipse is about to detonate your partnership house. If sign 1 was the quiet opening note, sign 2 is the moment the music swells. On August 12th, a total solar eclipse lands as a new moon at 20 degrees of Leo, your opposite sign. And it drops directly into your 7th house, the part of your chart that governs marriage, partnership, close collaboration, and one-on-one commitment. This is not a subtle transit. Solar eclipses are new moons on steroids. They don't just start new chapters, they force them open, sometimes whether you're ready or not. Here's what makes this particular eclipse so loaded for you, Aquarius. It's arriving less than 2 weeks after the North Node crossed into your sign. That timing is not a coincidence, and if you've been feeling like the ground is shifting beneath your closest relationships lately, this is exactly why. The eclipse in your opposite sign asks a very specific question. Now that you're beginning to redefine who you are, how does that new you fit alongside the people standing closest to you? A partner, a spouse, a business partner, a close collaborator? This eclipse puts a spotlight directly on that dynamic and asks you to stop managing it from a comfortable distance, which, let's be honest, is your default setting. Aquarians are famous for loving humanity in general and staying slightly guarded with individuals in particular. You'll go to the mat for a cause, a group, a friend circle, but real one-on-one vulnerability with a single person, that's harder. That's the muscle this eclipse is going to work. Expect conversations you've been quietly avoiding to suddenly feel necessary. Expect a partner to bring up next steps, whether that means moving in together, getting engaged, restructuring a business agreement, or finally naming what's actually going on between you two. Eclipses compress time. What might have taken 6 more months of slow, cautious circling could resolve itself in a matter of days once this eclipse activates. If you're single, don't assume this one skips you. Solar eclipses in the partnership house often introduce people at exactly the wrong or exactly the right moment. Unexpected, slightly disruptive, and impossible to categorize using your usual filters. Someone may enter your orbit around the middle of the month who doesn't fit your normal type, and that's precisely the point. This eclipse isn't interested in your patterns. It's interested in your growth. There's also a practical layer worth naming. Jupiter has been slowly building strength in Leo since late June, quietly charging up this same 7th house for weeks before the eclipse even hits. That means this isn't a flash-in-the-pan event that rattles you and disappears. It's the culmination of momentum that's been gathering since early summer, and the eclipse on the 12th is simply the moment it becomes undeniable. Whatever partnership question has been simmering under the surface of your life, commit or release, expand or exit, lean in or step back, this eclipse is going to force clarity. The important thing to remember, especially if this feels intense, eclipses don't create problems. They reveal what was already unfinished. If a relationship has genuine roots, this eclipse tends to deepen it dramatically. If it's been running on habit rather than substance, the eclipse has a way of making that obvious too, sometimes uncomfortably so. Either outcome is the shift doing its job. And speaking of jobs, sign 3 is where that same eclipse energy turns into something much more rewarding, because Jupiter isn't just sitting in your partnership house. It's actively working in your favor there, and I'll show you exactly how in a moment. Sign number 3, Jupiter's rare return is multiplying your luck through other people. Here's where the story shifts, from tension to opportunity. So if the last section felt heavy, take a breath, because this one is good news. Jupiter, the planet of expansion, luck, and growth, entered Leo on June 30th. And this is the first time Jupiter has moved through Leo since 2014. That's not a yearly event. That's a once every 12 years event. And it's happening in the exact same 7th house of partnership that the solar eclipse just lit up. Translation: the same area of your life that's being tested emotionally is also the area where the universe is actively stacking the deck in your favor. Jupiter doesn't work quietly. Wherever it lands, it exaggerates, expands, and opens doors that were previously locked. In your 7th house, that means your luck this August is not going to arrive through solo effort. It's going to arrive through other people. A collaborator who brings an opportunity you couldn't have created alone, a partner whose connections open a door, an alliance that makes something possible that simply wasn't possible when you were operating solo. There's an old saying that fits this transit perfectly. 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2 right now. It equals 3. Whatever you build with someone else this month has a multiplying effect that solo effort alone can't replicate. If you've been the type of Aquarian who prides yourself on independence, and let's be honest, most of you do, this transit is quietly nudging you to loosen your grip on doing everything yourself. That's not a criticism, it's an invitation. The version of success available to you this month requires letting someone else in as a genuine equal, not just a helpful bystander. Listen more closely than usual to advice, offers, or introductions that come your way between now and the end of the month. Because Jupiter has a way of disguising major opportunities as small, casual moments. A passing comment from a colleague. An introduction at a gathering you almost skipped. A business idea someone floats half-jokingly. Jupiter transits often look unremarkable in the moment and only reveal their size in hindsight. There's more supporting this than just Jupiter alone. This same period features Saturn and Neptune forming a favorable sextile to your Sun from your 11th house, the house of groups, networks, and collective vision. That combination is rare. Saturn brings structure and staying power. Neptune brings inspiration and vision, and together, they're stabilizing whatever new connections or communities you're stepping into right now. On top of that, Pluto, which has been transforming your sign at a deep, slow burn level for the past couple of years, is currently forming a supportive trine to your Sun from your 9th house of travel, higher education, and worldview. That means the expansion you're experiencing isn't superficial. It's connected to a genuine broadening of how you see the world, possibly literally through travel, further study, publishing, or connecting with people from entirely different backgrounds than your own. Put all three together, Jupiter in your partnership house, Saturn and Neptune supporting your network sector, Pluto deepening your worldview, and August 2026 becomes one of the more genuinely fortunate stretches you'll experience this year. Astrologers watching the wider sky have actually flagged Aquarius as one of the handful of signs experiencing a real abundance window this month, and this is exactly why. The catch, if you can call it that, is that this luck is relational. It doesn't show up if you isolate. It shows up when you say yes to the collaboration, the introduction, the partnership conversation you might normally deflect. So here's your homework for the rest of August. Stop filtering every opportunity through the question, "Can I do this alone?" and start asking, "Who could I do this with?" That single shift in framing is going to matter more this month than almost any single decision you make. But luck and partnership aren't the whole story of this destiny shift. There's an older, quieter wound that's also resurfacing right now, and sign 4 is going to show you exactly why healing it is just as important as chasing the opportunity. Sign number 4. Chiron's retrograde is reopening an old wound at home. Not every sign of a destiny shift feels exciting, and this one is proof. On August 3rd, literally the day before this shift you're reading about right now, Chiron, the so-called wounded healer of the Zodiac, stationed retrograde in Taurus, where it will remain until mid-September. And for you specifically, Aquarius, that retrograde is unfolding in your 4th house, home, family, roots, and your deepest sense of belonging. Chiron doesn't operate like other planets. It doesn't bring easy blessings, and it doesn't bring straightforward challenges either. It represents the place where an old wound lives, something that happened long ago, often in childhood or early adulthood, that never fully healed, and that quietly shapes how you behave even decades later. When Chiron goes retrograde, that wound doesn't get worse. It gets visible. It surfaces, almost like it's asking to finally be looked at directly instead of managed from a distance. For you, this is landing squarely in the territory of home and family. That could mean a literal family relationship, a parent, a sibling, an old rift that never quite closed, resurfacing in conversation or memory over the coming weeks. It could mean questions about where home actually is for you, especially if you've moved around, felt rootless, or built your sense of stability more around ideas and people than around an actual physical place, which is common for Aquarians. It could mean an old pattern around not feeling like you truly belonged somewhere. In a family, a hometown, a childhood friend group, bubbling back up now, asking to be examined rather than pushed back down. Here's why this timing is so significant. This retrograde begins the day before your node shift becomes fully active, meaning the universe is essentially saying, before you build the new identity, look at the foundation you're building it on. You cannot fully step into reinvention while an old, unexamined wound about belonging is quietly running the show underneath it. Chiron retrograde is the sky's way of making sure you do the excavation work first. Practically speaking, this might show up as an unexpected wave of nostalgia, a conversation with a parent that goes somewhere deeper than either of you planned, or a sudden urge to understand your own history, where you came from, what patterns you inherited, what you're still carrying that was never actually yours to carry. Some of you will feel pulled toward literal action, therapy, journaling, a long overdue conversation, even a visit to a childhood home or hometown. Others will feel it more subtly, as a persistent, low-grade emotional weather system, hovering over the next several weeks. The gift hidden inside this transit is real, even if it doesn't feel like a gift while you're in it. Chiron retrograde periods are historically some of the most productive times for genuine healing, precisely because the wound is surfaced rather than suppressed. What gets acknowledged now, in early to mid-August, has real potential to actually resolve, rather than just resurfacing again in another few years the way unaddressed patterns tend to do. Think of this less as a setback in your destiny shift and more as necessary groundwork. You're not being pulled backward. You're being asked to finally close a loop so the new chapter isn't built on a cracked foundation. This is also precisely why the final sign on this list matters so much, because everything you've read so far, the node, the eclipse, Jupiter's luck, and now this healing work, collides at the very end of the month in a way that either confirms this shift is real or forces you to see clearly what still needs your attention. Don't leave yet, because sign 5 ties every single piece of this together. Sign number 5, the final jolt that confirms the shift is real. Here's the piece that makes all 4 previous signs click into place, and it happens in the final days of August. On the 25th, Mercury shifts into Virgo, bringing a wave of analytical, detail-oriented clarity that pairs surprisingly well with your own love of structure and systems. 2 days later, on the 27th, the Sun conjuncts Mercury in that same sign, creating a short but powerful window of clear-eyed reflection. A moment where you can genuinely take stock of everything the eclipse and the node have stirred up since the start of the month. This is the point where you separate the ideas that actually deserve your energy going forward from the ones that were only exciting in the heat of the moment. Not everything that felt urgent on August 12th will still feel important on August 27th, and that distinction matters more than you might assume. Then, right on its heels, comes the real climax. On August 28th, the Sun squares Uranus, and Mercury follows with a square of its own. 2 hard aspects to your ruling planet, both firing in a single day. Squares are the sky's way of creating friction that forces movement. They're uncomfortable specifically because they're productive. This is precision colliding head-on with unpredictability, structure crashing into disruption, and for a sign literally ruled by Uranus, that collision is going to feel personal. Expect a sudden insight, an unexpected piece of news, or an abrupt decision that seems to come out of nowhere, but is actually the direct result of everything that's been building since your node shift began. As if that weren't enough, a lunar eclipse in Pisces lands on that exact same day, August 28th, creating one of the more charged final stretches of the entire month. Where the solar eclipse on the 12th opened a door in your partnership house, this lunar eclipse closes a loop somewhere deeper and more emotional, likely touching your imagination, your intuition, or something you've been quietly processing beneath the surface all month. Lunar eclipses reveal endings the way solar eclipses reveal beginnings, and having both an eclipse pair bookend the same month alongside a double Uranus square is genuinely rare. This is not a subtle wrap-up to August. It's a full-volume finale. Here is why this matters so much for the destiny shift this whole video has been building toward. Everything traces back to the same thread. The node crossing into your sign at the start of the month, opening an 18-month identity chapter. the solar eclipse on the 12th, testing how that new identity holds up inside your closest partnership. Jupiter, quietly stacking luck and opportunity in that same partnership house through outside collaboration. Chiron, forcing you to heal an old wound about home and belonging before you can fully step into whoever you are becoming. And now, in the final days of August, Uranus delivers the jolt that confirms all of it was real. Not a passing mood, not a coincidence, but the actual, undeniable beginning of a genuine destiny shift. If the last 4 weeks have felt disorienting, contradictory, exciting, and exhausting all at once, that's because they were supposed to. Real transformation rarely announces itself politely. It shows up as 5 overlapping signals arriving almost on top of each other, forcing you to grow faster than you planned to. The question this final sign leaves you with isn't whether the shift is happening. By the 28th, that will be undeniable. The real question is whether you'll recognize it while it's happening or only understand it in hindsight, the way most people experience their biggest turning points. So let's bring it all together, Aquarius. Sign 1, the node crossing into your sign, opened a brand new 18-month identity chapter. Sign 2, the solar eclipse, tested that new identity inside your closest relationship. Sign 3, Jupiter is quietly multiplying your luck through the people around you. Sign 4, Chiron, is asking you to heal an old wound about home before you build anything new on top of it. And sign 5, that final Uranus jolt at month's end, confirms the whole shift was real all along. This isn't a quiet month, it's a turning point, and you're standing right in the middle of it. Trust what you've been feeling, because the sky agrees with you. If this resonated, make sure you're subscribed, because next time, we're going even deeper into what this shift means for the months ahead. And trust me, Aquarius, you're going to want to be here for that one. I'll see you in the next video.